Hello everybody, thanks for joining us again. Today we have an extra special installation guide showing you how to install this Revenant amplifier, which is an amazing German-built, made in Germany, designed amplifier that has the capability to upgrade your factory amp, adding a lot more wattage, and it's got a 64-bit brain, so we've tuned that brain just for your car. And there's a choice here on the side. This little button will allow you to go between your BMW speakers or BAVSOUND speakers so that the amp is perfectly tuned for you, and it just sounds incredible. So we're going to show you today how to get into the space here on the driver's side that will allow you to easily unplug your factory amp and plug this one in. It's super simple. Stay with us. One quick thing before we begin, we have included a little brochure that's going to show you some of the controls. Again, it's really very simple, but we do recommend that you look over this guide so that you know what to do when you are setting up your amplifier. To begin, let's go ahead and remove this. All these little panels and things you're going to want them out of your way so that you have access to your workspace. Put this safely aside. Okay, so after we remove the sun shield here, you're going to want to go ahead and push your seats forward. There's those little loop pulls that allow you to do that. You probably already know how to do it. And next we're going to go ahead and get this out of the way. So it folds up, and a little, bit of interesting, it took me a little while to figure this out. It actually just kind of lifts out of the car one side at a time. So you may not even know that it can do that, but it can. So we're going to put that safely to the side. And then there's one more panel down here at the bottom. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way as well. So once we've removed the various panels that constitute the different floors of your trunk, we're going to go ahead and remove this piece. It's really simple the way it's held in. And this tool here is part of our BAVSOUND panel removal toolkit. This is what it looks like right now. We're revising the kit for some of these newer vehicles. So by the time you get it, it may look a little bit different, but it includes some very useful tools for you, such as this panel removal toolkit. You can get that as you're checking out, by the way, on our site. So I don't know if you saw that, but we'll give it a second for the camera to focus. What we did is we stuck this panel in here, pried upward, and separated the little center insert, and that releases this tab. I'm going to go ahead and set it there. You may want to put it in a safer space like a box or a container that will allow you to keep track of everything that you're taking out of your car. There you go. So next, pretty simple, we're just going to go ahead and pull up. And there's some clips here which I'll show you that release this panel, and it kind of slides out from underneath this seal. You don't have to touch or remove this seal at all. And I don't know if you can see that, but there are these metal pressure fit clips, I guess you'd call them, fasteners, that clip into each of these slots. So those just sort of press down, and we can just pull up to release this panel. So next we're going to go ahead and remove these plastic sort of fastener thingamabobs that are covering up the Torx bolt within. These are your tie downs if you're carrying something heavy in your trunk. So now we can get to this Torx bolt. Right now, since this is a newer design, our toolkit does not include this Torx bit. I'm not sure, it's larger than a T30 Torx, but I'm not sure what size it is exactly. We've gone ahead and we're going to use a power tool today to remove it. So let me grab our drill. I believe that the size we're using, it's not on the Torx, oh, it's a T40, and I think it even might be technically just a little bit small, but it is working. So we're going to go ahead and use an impact driver to remove the bolt. You just want to be careful. You know, the last thing you want to do is strip out these bolts, because they would be tough to remove if they're stripped. So be careful, use caution, get those removed, and then I'll show you how to remove this panel. I guess we can go ahead and do that. Actually, there's a panel that usually goes here. That you can just remove that by hand, so there's nothing to that. Don't even need to show it. It's already been removed. And so next we have this carpeted panel, and it's kind of, it fits in there, you know, you have to sort of pressure fit it in and out. It's not really an exact science, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Kind of get the gist of it. So you can release it here from the bottom to give yourself some working room. And you kind of have to just feel into it. It's the best advice I have for you. It looks a little tougher than it is. It's a little bit of muscle, but just enough to make you feel proud of your accomplishment. Nothing to be too scared of. Now that that's out of the way, we finally have access to our factory amplifier. There are two ways you can get it out of the car. You can remove these hex bolts here, but I found that something that's a little bit simpler and easier, you can use a wrench if you've got the proper size wrench. I'm not even sure what that is. Maybe it's a 6mm, but you can also just use some pliers, which everybody's got pliers. And you can get this little bolt started. You can remove it the rest of the way with your fingers. Put it there or put it in your safe spot. Now, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but there are these little wings that are kind of pressure fitting at an angle that hold the amp in place as well. So the amp is slid down into place. So we're going to push up and then pull out. And voila, there's our Harman Kardon amplifier. It's a cute little amp, but there's a lot of room for improvement. So you're about to hear the difference when you put the Revenant in. At the time of this filming, we only have solutions for Harman Kardon vehicles. It is possible that one day we may have something for the standard HiFi cars. You'll have to check our site. We keep everything updated there if there is something available or not for your car. Right now it's just Harman Kardon vehicles, and so that's what we're showing. So here you go. There's a tab here that you press down on. You pull this lever and that plug gets removed. Let's get this out of the way and go grab our Revenant amp. Now that we've accessed our factory plug, you're going to want to get the harness here that was included in your Revenant box with your Revenant amp. And super simple. This is why we call it a plug and play amp upgrade, because this harness plugs right into your factory connector. Pull that lever back into place. This is going to attach right into your Revenant amp. But there's one more thing we need to do, and we'll show you that here in a second. All right, we've gone ahead and grabbed our little driver tool, a Torx T20 bit from our BAVSOUND panel toolkit. And what we need to do is we need to install this bracket here, which works just like the factory bracket, onto our Revenant amplifier. It's a little sad that you cover up all that beautiful artwork, but we'll get over it when we hear how good it sounds. All right, we just did a jump cut, so you didn't have to watch us screwing in all 4 screws. You can probably figure out they all work about the same as the next one. You don't want to use too much tightening power here. We don't need to risk stripping anything out. Just snug, and that's pretty much the rule of thumb with any BAVSOUND upgrade. You just want everything snug, not tight. So This is where it starts to get good. We're plugging it in. That's our power connection. And these are all the additional connections to the factory radio. The factory radio, by the way, thinks it's talking to a factory Harman Kardon amp. It has no idea that it's talking to this really sneaky, awesome 1300 watt German amplifier. All right, so while we have a good view of this, before we reinstall it, there's a control push button here. This is going to change the tune from OEM speakers and subwoofers or BAVSOUND speakers and subwoofers. You hold it for just a couple moments and it will turn from green to orange and back to green. You don't want to hold it for an extended period of time because that could reset your amplifier, meaning that you'll have no tune on it. We don't want that. You're going to choose the priority of the light based on your speakers. So if you have BAVSOUND speakers, orange, OEM speakers, green. The subwoofers kind of follow suit to the speakers. Now, let's go ahead and get it installed. Actually, one more thing. These two controls are used if you have the desire to add an auxiliary amplifier and a subwoofer, typically like a 10-inch sub in your trunk. This is a remote turn on. It tells your new subwoofer amplifier when to turn on and off with the car. And this is your pre-tuned subwoofer signal. For typical installations, you won't need to worry about these, but if you are adding an additional subwoofer beyond the Ghost subs, you'll want to use these controls. Don't touch your gain knob. End of story. All right, let's go. What we want to do is we want to get these little wings lined up in their slots. It can take a little bit of momentary finagling. There we go. And we're going to pull down until it's tight. Remember that trusty little bolt we had earlier? It's going to go back in place. And at this point, before you reinstall everything in your trunk, we're going to want to go up front and test everything out, make sure the amp's playing properly, set our tune appropriately, and once we verified everything's working beautifully, we can go ahead and put our trunk back together. Okay guys, so we are here in the car listening to the really clear, beautiful, gorgeous sounds of one of our resident musicians. He might look a little bit like myself with one of these new tracks here. We'll probably credit it in the bottom of the video. But basically right now, it's hard to not get lost in how good this system sounds with the BAVSOUND speakers, subs, and the new amp installed. But right now we're mainly just making sure that everything's playing, and it is. So let's go and put that trunk back together, and then we can, after it's all put back together, we can take years to enjoy the new system. So we have verified that the amp is playing. We want to make sure our tune is set properly. In this X2, we've installed the BAVSOUND speakers and subs, and we want to make sure that our tune is set appropriately. So this is going to be for our OEM speakers and subs. So this amp can accommodate both, and it sounds amazing in both regards. Although clearly if you have the BAVSOUND drivers installed, you're going to get a little bit more performance. So let's go ahead and hit it for just a moment. So what you saw is that it'll, sometimes if it's green, it'll turn orange and then it stays orange. If it's orange, it'll stay green and then it'll stay green, or vice versa. But if you hold it for a moment, it'll turn another color that you can ignore, and then within a few seconds, it will stay on the color that you are looking for. Let's demonstrate one more time. It flashes orange, it should turn to green. There you go. We're going to go back to orange in this case, because that's what this car has. By the way, a big thanks to Ben from RG Sport for letting us borrow this vehicle for this install. awesome dealer of ours here in the Southern California area, so check them out. All right, let's keep going. So this little wiring harness, it's not going to hurt anything where it is. You may elect to push it up and out of the way a little bit here. You could even go so far as to zip tie it in place. Really, anything you want to do with it is okay. We're just going to put it like this for today. And let's go ahead and start reinstalling our trunk. Okay guys, so we're going to go ahead and reinstall this panel first, since it was the last thing we took out. The installation really of everything is just like the deinstallation, if I'm saying all that right. But I just kind of wanted you guys to watch me do it because, you know, it's a little bit of a struggle, and I wanted you to have some baseline, even though I'm probably not doing it as, you know, as elegantly as some people might, like a master tech that works in these cars every day. I did, you know, figure out how to get it done. And sometimes if you have obstructions, you shouldn't have to, you know, kick it or push it or put all your weight into it. Really, when you're working in a car, as Jeremy here says, you know, everything should be easy. You shouldn't have to struggle too much. So if something is too much of a struggle, look at it and see what's in your way. And usually it's something simple. This here, this seal, you got to make sure that it's going on top of that. Otherwise the seal and the water flow, you know, the water prevention properties of the seal won't work the way they should. So get that in place. You got these things, remember those? They have two little tabs that need to get inserted back into the metal. Sometimes you have to move your panel around a little bit to find it again. So let's get this bolt started by hand. Again, don't force it. If a bolt needs to be forced, it's probably not threaded properly. So try again. If it's lined up, you should be able to put this bolt most of the way in by hand. And then you know you're safe to go the rest of the way with whatever more powerful tool you have in your garage. Again, we're going to use our trusty rigid set on 1 setting so that we don't hit it with too much power. Just doesn't need that much. Snug. We're going to pop these back on. Very scientific. I'm just whacking away at it until it finds its place. This one went on easy. Didn't have to do any karate chops. All right, so one thing I ran into with this was there's 2 potential pitfalls. One is that you want to make sure that the seal, again, is on the outside of this lip. But there's 2 kind of plastic lips. There's one below and this one above. We want to make sure that this plastic piece is all the way down, going in between those 2 rubber lips, because if it's underneath the bottom one, that's not good, and if it's over the top one, that's not going to work either. So it takes a little bit of back and forth. You kind of have to work your way in. You can also use your blue panel tool if you like. And if it's placed properly, you can push these clips down without a lot of force and they'll start to go. But another thing that I need you guys to be mindful of is that there's an insert point here where your carpet, do you see that? Mm-hmm. That will want to work its way into a slot that you can't see under here. So you don't want the carpet to be too far in or too far out. It's going to want to feel like it's, you know, starting to work its way in. And then boom, the whole thing just went at once. So I'm just making sure that right here, this carpet is sort sort of like flush just behind the plastic. And the reason for that is because these little clips, they're going to expand and they grip the carpet and the plastic together. So if there's too much space, they won't do their job. So I'm going to get that one started first, push it in. Same thing here. You don't want to force these clips because these little tabs can bend back. You want to just very gently make sure that the clip is expanded. Work it into, it'll go easy once it's in the right place, and it can go through both holes, the one here in the plastic and the carpet. Push the top in, make sure it's good. It is. We're going to do the final clip here on the right side. That one went through both spaces, and all of that is good to go. All right, boom. That couldn't be any easier. All right. Super simple. Voila. And this last panel. You're going to want to pop these into place here and here. All right, after you put this last little bad boy in, or bad girl, I'm not sure what gender that thing is, you can go up front and take a listen. And noticing right away that the sound stage, which is the accuracy and the detail with which the system is portraying the original recording, is really a very, very different experience than with the factory amplifier. We've got everything time aligned, so it's hitting your ears at the same time. What that means is that if you close your eyes, not while driving, you have the experience of, depending on the song, you know, a vocalist right here on the dash, a cello just to the left. With the factory amp, everything's kind of a little more jumbled and not as unified. In short, it sounds awesome. All right, so let's go into our tone settings. And it's pretty simple, guys. We really recommend starting with everything flat. We've tuned it with flat treble, bass, balance, and fader. If for whatever reason you like just a little bit more treble, 2 notches, 3 at the most. When you start getting above that, up into this range, you're introducing a lot of distortion. So, you know, unless you have a little bit of high-end frequency loss or something like that, we tend to recommend keeping it close to midline. Some people even prefer to reduce the treble now that you have such a clear and detailed listening experience. Same thing with the bass. If you want to boost it just a little bit, no problem, but let's be a little bit conservative so we don't put too much distortion into our listening experience. It's just not good for our speakers or our amplifier. Maybe you like it down here, that's fine too. You can also think of reducing your treble to get more bass rather than boosting the bass. That's really pretty much it, guys. Enjoy the new amplifier, and we will catch you, perhaps you'll be watching our stage 1 or our Ghost subwoofer installation video next. And we thank you as always for your time, your consideration, and hope you enjoy your new equipment.